Calling the order City of Cary Lodgers Tax Board special meeting, September 24th, 2020. It is currently 10:03 a.m. Al, will you please give the roll call?
Al is here. Larry?
Here.
Mike? Here.
Here.
Here. So one change to the agenda that we're discussing now. This is Robin from the New Mexico Main Street group who is helping to lead us through the our marketing rebranding efforts. She's going to present to us prior to our discussion to offer some insight and to give an update of where things stand right now. They'll help to guide us as we're discussing all this today. So we'll be adding that to the agenda as item 4 and pushing discussion down. With that change, have a motion to approve.
I want to amend the agenda, put number 5 on top of 1.
What?
Additional opportunities. So I make a motion to put letter or Roman numeral 4, number 5 above billboard opportunities.
You want to discuss additional opportunities first?
Yes.
Okay. Sure, that's fine. Everybody's okay with that? All right, so we'll move that up. Any other changes or omissions?
I'll second that.
Do we actually have the motion? No, okay. Your second. Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. So with that, we'll turn it over to you, Robin. And
Thank you.
yeah, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you taking the time.
Not a problem. I know you all are busy and have a lot of good, so I appreciate being able to take time and send greetings from New Mexico Main Street as well, to give you a quick update on our perspective of the project. And I'd also be happy to answer any questions you all might have as well. So just a reminder, New Mexico Main Street is a state coordinating program of the National Main Street Program. There are state coordinating programs, and then there are a couple county coordinating programs across the United States, and over 3,000 participating communities in the United States as well. So it's a big organization that's under the umbrella of the Historic Trust Group, the National Historic Trust. So we've got a lot going on. We have to David Sandy do an assessment, and we require that the communities in our program, which right now there are 37 arts and cultural districts. And we also work with what we call frontier programs, which are communities under 5,000 that do just one specific project. And I believe we've done just over 50 of those at this point as well. So our goal is, to provide strong support to rural communities, and there are a few urban communities as well, to rebirth their historic commercial districts and to engage people in the process. It's a grassroots process, and it's very community driven as opposed to our doing anything. So everywhere there is a Main Street organization, it's because of passionate people. And you definitely have one, a great program in your community. And that's one of the reasons we are here. This is a service that if you paid for between my coaching services and facilitation services and the graphic design, probably at least tens of thousands of dollars for. This service is provided free because you all have Main Street programs. You can carry Main Street, and your community has supported that. The city has supported that, and you have a very hardworking executive director and board. So what we are providing in this service is what we call brand discovery guidance, kind of coaching through the branding process, facilitating public meetings, which we did virtually this year with you all, engagement with your team and coaching, and graphic design of the logo, style guide, and some collateral design. And then assistance with a design RFP for the future as you consider your next steps, and Also, we will help you do a marketing plan so that there's a really easy to implement, and we know what the low hanging fruit is and what you all will move on next. But all this is done through the volunteers on your branding team, local community members who are engaged in this. So we don't come in and tell you do this, this, and this. We really believe in self-discovery in the community and you all finding your way through this process and also discovering that really strong, unique voice. And so with that said, it would be super easy to throw together an image that we thought was really cool and represented you all and produce it. But we've really found that this, giving it a little more time and thinking through the process, listening to the public, reviewing the data that we collect, and working with this core team to define the essence and voice of your community is really vital to create an authentic, unique, and a brand that really expresses each community, and in this case, obviously Tucumcari. So we would encourage your communities, you think through this, to just trust the process because it's worked in other communities, and we've had great results and ended up with something that has a lot of longevity and is meaningful to people in the community. And part of what we will create is that style guide, which will outline what the voice is, how you want things to look and feel, the fonts, the colors. And that's going to be really important to creating a brand that's comprehensive and cohesive, and that all your pieces tie together. So when people see it and see different elements of it, they feel that connection between those pieces. And we believe that's really important. And we call it a consistent brand story. And so what we're hoping to do through this process is not just help develop those things, but teach you all how to then carry that forward so that what you work on in the future will be consistent and comprehensive. So, that said, we've really, really enjoyed working with you all, even though it's been virtual. We're hoping that at some point we can get on the ground there and actually be there in person and work with you all as well. Your team's been fantastic. You've come up with some ideas and working through the brand essence statements where we're at right now, and that's been very quick, actually, compared to some of our other communities. You all have buckled down and done the work yourselves. We got lots of feedback from the community, which enabled us to probably move forward a little bit faster. And I think our next steps we're really looking at, we brought the graphic design team on board, and they're going to start talking through voice and tone and style, and how are we going to be casual, are we going to be formal, are we going to be bold, are we going to be more subtle? So there are lots of little elements to work through to make sure that we come up with something that really represents Tucumcari well, and something you all can get together behind as a community and support for a long time. So again, we're loving doing this. It's a free service provided to you because of your local Main Street program. And we're hoping, fingers crossed, that we are going to be at a place to have your logo, style guide, and some collateral work done, the marketing plan almost completed by the end of the year. It might flex depending on how things go between now and then, but that's kind of where we're heading and feeling pretty comfortable saying that. So, all that said, very quickly, I'd be happy to answer any questions you all have about what we're doing in the process.
Hey, Robin, it's Mark. The first thing I'd like to do is thank Connie and you, New Mexico Main Street, for your hard work on this. And part of the importance, I think, of you presenting today to give some ideas to the Lodgers Tax Board is moving forward. I know we have some discussion about billboards, and I think it's important that we secure strategic locations and get those in contract. But I think as far as going forward with the design and the message and what we're portraying, my recommendation would be to hold off till we have all this design towards the end of the year. It's all wrapped up and we have one unified goal. Like I said, that marketing story that we're telling everybody the same thing. We don't have different billboards going in different directions. Again, that's just my suggestion. It's ultimately up to the Lodgers Tax Board, but I appreciate your status update on where we're at and just giving some insight onto what y'all are doing. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And I would agree. I know you guys have waited a long time. This whole COVID thing threw us off schedule. We typically would have moved through this faster if we could have engaged on the ground back when we intended to. So I totally understand, but I would agree if there's any way you all could wait, I would wait until you could tie it all together and make sure it's all has common fonts and colors and language. And if there's something that comes up that we want to use as a tag, that's consistent across the board. I would agree.
Been someone involved, so I
Anything else?
don't really have questions about you guys, because I wanted her to present to the whole group. Any questions at all, you guys?
So, I guess, according to Robin, towards the end of the year is when we're gonna have a design plan logo.
Yeah.
So,
We would have everything together, and that's, I think that's definitely doable by the end of the year. I feel like, I mean, it's 3 months still to work. And like, as you mentioned, we had the essence statement pretty much nailed down. So that was the first major step. And the style of the graphic designers are involved now. So
and how far are they, is there something that they could show us? Like
they will have, Robin, they mentioned about, it was at the next meeting, that they would have a, I forgot what they call it, idea board, something like that, to show us.
We're gonna do
Storyboard.
Yeah.
So that would be the next step, and then we go from there. So kind of what we're calling right now the branding committee, I guess,
Yes.
is.
So will you be seeing this like in the October meeting
Probably.
or December?
Probably closer to
No.
November,
Yeah.
December, more ideas. October
Maybe
meeting
more
just around the corner, that's a bit
That's
soon.
why I'm asking.
And my thought, and like I said, I could be off track, I'm just throwing out ideas here, but ideally, we still want to market some things like Very Merry Tucumcari Carry if we're able to open up to that extent and have more people in larger crowds. If not, my push, and again, it's based on the governor's public health order, is really making a campaign for spring and summer. And I think by that time, we'll have some kind of assets that we could share with the lodgers tax and start, look towards getting some artwork for our billboards and ads and whatnot.
Because we're heading into winter now, and there's really not a lot of need. I mean, yeah, there will be travelers out, but nowhere near the number, even though we had this summer, as depleted as that was. There really won't be a lot of tourism. Will be snowbirds and holiday travelers and things. So, we don't feel like we're in a huge hurry to have something right now. It's more preparing for the spring, for March, really. Anticipation of what will hopefully be a better year.
I agree. I think the urgency that we have to make a decision on soon is locations of these billboards and acquiring those and get them locked up to contract. That way, when we are ready with our artwork and our marketing, we're able to go and we have those billboards secured.
Yeah, exactly that, and just allocating how we want to use the money that's available to us right now, and use it most efficiently and most wisely. So that word, wisely. We just want to make the best informed decisions we can on the money we have, because we do have it. We're in a unique position this year, as we mentioned. We have money that wouldn't have been available to us otherwise to really hit this hard. Okay. Any other questions for Robin? Okay. Well, I think we're good. Thank you again, Robin, for taking the time and for explaining all the process to everyone. Greatly appreciated.
No problem. And I know it's tough decisions, and I would encourage you all to really think about, what do you think the difference will be between putting something up now and waiting until maybe December or January and getting something out there. I'm on a board with the American Marketing Association, And their projection is that travel is going to be down through the end of the year, and we're encouraging through that people really look to push in January. So I would encourage you to think through that as well.
Okay.
Anyway, thank you. Appreciate your time today. Good luck. I know there's lots of work to do still.
All right. Well, thank you again. We appreciate your insight. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. So, of course, Connie's here as well. If we have any further questions or follow-up needed about the process. So with that, go into our discussion. So what we're trying to do is to, again, with Rochelle noted our last meeting a couple weeks ago that we have approximately $40,000 that is money that we definitely have to spend, and that's without projecting what could be a bump into the rest of the fiscal year, especially going into spring. So pretty much like March through June. So we're strictly working with what we have that we know we have. And, so what we want to do, one big part of today is allocate how much we want to spend on certain things, and then definitely I think these billboards are of particular interest, and we work to secure those while we're waiting for this design process to complete. Matt, you want to move additional opportunities to the
Yes.
So what do you have?
I mean, we're not in a hurry about the billboards. I know I was pushing the last couple months, last 2 meetings ago. We're not in a hurry on it. I think we have a good opportunity here. And in the past meetings, I've always been against giving money back to the executive. I've been asking for money to come from the executive. But like, we have a chance to modernize our convention center. The city manager said he's working hard. And to be honest with you, he's working harder now on the convention center than the past couple of city managers. We could get like projectors in every room at the convention center. We can start modernizing the convention center. And now's the time to do it while we have this extra funds. The convention center was built on the idea of promoting tomb carry. So it is our job to do this. When it was built, we were one of the 3 big convention centers built in the state that people were coming to us looking at how we did our convention center. I think it's time to modernize it. And let Mark do if he wants projectors or whatever he wants to do for the convention center. Projectors, if we have to have TVs, more a digital age convention center. That's my opinion.
So I'd like to follow up. Thanks, Matt. So I have given some direction to our convention center director on obtaining quotes for certain updates currently. One of them is the flooring in the main ballroom. It is old, stained carpet. We're looking at numerous options. I'm not restricting it to one certain thing, but so far just some ideas that have been bounced around is kind of going with the concrete, restoring it down to its original concrete, pull up the carpet and either stain it or just seal it, and it looks really good. We've had some contractors come in and give quotes and look at it. I'm not sure due to the cost, I don't know if we can do that to the whole ballroom. One option is to use the carpet tiles throughout the ballroom and redo the dance floor to have the concrete and seal it. With that, if you have spills and you have difficult areas, you could go and replace that individual tile and not have to worry about piecing in a large piece of carpet. That's one thing we've discussed. We've also discussed the need to renovate the bathroom on the other side. I know last year we were able to renovate the restroom. I guess that would be probably on the south side of the convention center. So now we need to do it on the north side. The other thing we've been discussing is the entryway. It's an old tile and the colors are kind of outdated. It's kind of 90s-ish. It's pink and light blue, and we need more neutral colors, something that's appealing. We've gotten some feedback actually from the gentleman that did the flooring quote that said, yeah, this is a bit outdated, and they're a reputable company, so we're just trying to make it work within our budget. Some other renovations that I'm looking at doing is wanting to update the Wi-Fi. Like you said, you have to think what's going to draw people to use our facility other than the other buildings that are available in town, maybe. And we have an asset here in Tucumcari with our high-speed internet through our fiber. And the only thing we have to do now is build out the infrastructure throughout the facility. So we have to have the new cable drops, upgrade to Cat6, make sure you have modern routers, and it's a good secure system and it's fast. Like I said, maybe install some projectors and some drop-down screens. We've looked at that previously. It's quite costly. Some of this may have to be done in phases. And I think this is the perfect time to talk about it. This is the area of the agenda I wanted to speak about additional opportunities, because we have many coming at us right now. With COVID, things have kind of fell in our lap. We've been lucky, and even prior to COVID. So we have multiple TV shows that are wanting to film here in Tucumcari. We have The Bands of Enchantment. We have another project that Connie will help me out. She knows a little bit more about it than I do. So we have great opportunities, and I think if we do things in phases, we could kind of utilize the best of all of those opportunities. The convention center is definitely at the top of that. I like that. We started with the restoration of the 66 monument sign. I think that came out great. We're trying to do the best we can as far as lawn maintenance and the grounds maintenance, make sure everything's looking tidy. And now more than ever, I think is the time to do renovations to the convention center, because we are closed for the most part. We have been able to have a few meetings here and there that fit within the guidelines of the public health order. But for the most part, we're not having large meetings in the ballroom and whatnot when it needs to be renovated the most. And this is our time to do it, since we're closed and there's no disruption. It's not interfering with any scheduling or any events. And then when we do reopen, we can have a nice grand reopening. When we have that first big event, everything will be new, modern, fresh, and word gets around. We can market it out to the different state agencies. Everybody will, I can't predict. I'm assuming things will be changing a lot in the aspect where these government organizations have started to do everything virtually, and I think they're starting to see the savings. You're not having to pay for per diem, lodging and whatnot, so fuel costs. So maybe things will change in the future, but when we are ready to open, I want to be modern and have something to brag about, something that's out and able to be marketed, because right now it's a bit outdated.
In my opinion, that's our biggest asset that we have. I mean, you know, I think that we should invest in it. One thing that Larry didn't mention, we do have $47,000 in cash. I know a lot of people don't like to touch the cash, but and that 47,000 will be back in there when they pay off the convention center in June of 2021 anyways. It's just an idea. I think it's time to I mean, since everything's slow, let's update it. No one wants to move on the billboard. Not that no one, let me rephrase. We do want to move on with the billboards, but it's not, we don't have anything like set in stone, and no design set in stone, no everything. And let's give the city manager and the city commission the authority to actually do something with our convention center. It's a nice convention center. I'm not bashing it. It just needs a little modernization.
I have a question. So it seems like you have a wish list that is almost ready to go, pending estimate. What are we doing towards curb appeal, like parking lot facade and outside? Are we going to put LED signs?
So far, I've been focused on the outside. That's something, again, I love to have the time to spend to design things and look at that, but that's why we have a director for that department. I expect him to use his thought process and go out and do that and then present it to me. And if it's a good fit, then we present it to the lodgers tax or whatnot. Ultimately, the one thing that I would recommend, Matt, is, so we have, of course, promotional, we have executive. My recommendation to the board, and ultimately it's based on what you all feel, it goes up to the city commission. But I do know we have some excess money in executive funding, which I would like to put towards things that we typically wouldn't out of the promotional side. For example, I'd love to try to get some money to both of these two entities wanting to do some filming here in Tucumcari. I'd love to do the renovations to the convention center. We do have $50,000 set aside already that's budgeted to put towards renovations, but it's going to cost much more than that to do everything we're discussing. And I don't want to deplete that executive cash too quickly. And that's what I'm saying, maybe in phases. Again, as Matt referenced, next year, June of 2021, we will be paying off the convention center. So that frees up that amount of extra money to put towards FY22 budget. That way we're able to do more innovations. You just have to sit back on some money sometimes for a rainy day. AC units get expensive if that were to go out or whatnot. We have to have a little bit in the back to account for emergencies. But I do agree. It's long overdue. We need to make some renovations. If we're getting ready to pay it off, that's about the time when you have to start putting back into your assets and renovating them.
So do you think maybe in the next meeting or two, we should see a wish list and maybe some action plan towards it? Like you said, if we're ready to pay it off, are we willing to take another loan out to fix it up? Not a big loan, just enough to.
I mean, we'll have $151,000 extra a year that's how much going through our.
Because if we're spending a little bit inside with electronics, or we're spending a little outside with electronics, parking lots, I mean, the expense definitely adds up, but could we expect maybe a list or an action plan in the next meeting or 2 or 3 meetings?
We could, maybe closer to November. I know it's a quick turnaround for October.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's a great idea. Again, I like the concept that we have now, the ICIP. It's our Infrastructure Capital Improvement Plan. And I would not encourage, I wouldn't like to take out a loan to get those done. I know time is of the essence, but I think we can knock out a big chunk with the funding we have now and still sit on some cash for the future. And then next year, as we pay off the convention center, with that, I don't, that whole money that we're putting towards the note of paying off the loan, putting that towards renovations. And then again, things may change by then, and we want to throw some of that towards other projects and something else to help improve tourism to Tucumcari. But yeah, I definitely think the convention center is a staple, but I don't want to rule out any other future projects as well.
So if you had to prioritize that, what would you like to do first in the convention center?
First, because it's costly, and because I think it had the biggest impact is the flooring, as much as we can. And I know 100%, I could tell you that big ballroom is going to be very, very expensive. And the $50,000 we have for renovations this budget year, it's going to take more than that. We'd already have to tap into the executive side.
So you have proposals for that?
We do. Waiting for the actual dollar amounts, but based on square footage and what I've heard price-wise for square footage, it's going to be significant.
I got a small suggestion, and it's up to y'all. I'm noticing that we're already getting, we're probably going to get double, provided we're blessed enough that we can open up the state by next year. We're already looking at a lot of people doubling up on who's going to travel this year is now going to travel next year, along with those that are traveling. I'm not saying the whole amount, but if we could maybe consider putting a little extra toward the events that we missed this year, to kind of help them reach out farther for the promotions, could be something that would also, you know, help benefit refilling the coffers that got drained this year. Just a suggestion, you know, but we do have some really good events. I hate to see one of the events coming back asking for more money when we actually have it right now. But that's just something to consider. You know, we are going to be going where we're going to have to be able to increase the renovation budgets and all that for the convention center. But if we're going to have twice as many tourists, maybe we're able to reach out and grab a few more into these events. You know, we've got some really good events.
I mean, in my opinion, if we're going to have twice as much tourists, that's twice as many people are going to see our new convention center. I mean, we
provided we have the events there.
Yeah, provided. I mean, we just have an opportunity to, I mean, everything's slow, you know, there's no big events. Yeah, we can wait until 2021, but it's gonna start picking up and everything. My opinion, now's the time to do it. I mean,
So Matt, I have a question. Is it your wish that more money be funded to that, less money to the billboards? And I have a reason for the question.
well, I mean, and it's no one's fault when I say this, so I'm not, the billboards, and don't take this the wrong way, they're not going anywhere. We can't do it. I like to see something done like now. I mean, it's no one's fault. The city's doing a good job. The Main Street, everything, it's just the situation. And they won't be done until maybe December. So we just have an opportunity. If I have to prioritize, I don't know, I guess 75% for the convention center and 25% opportunity to the billboards, in my opinion.
Can we quantify the benefits of the billboards? I know that's hard to do for a city or a town.
It's hard to do, and I think that's why we got into the social media and digital marketing. That's actually tracked by clicks and by views and whatnot. So I mean, I personally, I hated to see pushing away from the digital marketing. I think it's a great asset. I think billboards are effective and they're great. I'm not sure how many people they reach. It's up to the individual. I can tell you, when I go travel with my family, I'm very analytical, so I plan my route before I leave and I already have my agenda. It's very, very rare that a billboard actually made myself or my family get off once in a while. Maybe we're driving to California, you see that huge meteor crater and the kids love me enough, okay, we'll do it. But as far as stopping off in the town because of a billboard, I've never done that. I do my research online. So I mean, I think it's a combination of both. I don't want to exclude billboards, but I don't want to exclude the idea to digital marketing either. I think it's a huge asset, especially with today's age. Everything's electronic, everything's on apps, everything's through social media. And I don't want to neglect that either. We need to come up with the plan, and I don't know the exact way to structure, but we need some kind of marketing help as well. We have a great different committees and teams and whatnot. But I'd like to see a professional come in and help and pick up some of this slack and get ready for this big marketing push when we are able to open next year. And that's part of the things we've been discussing with the branding is, and I've been beating this up for a long time now, I guess, but rural New Mexico, rural America is a huge asset now with all of COVID. Before, everybody wanted to say, oh, you got to have the shopping malls and the coffee shops and this and that. Well, being rural has its niche now. Everybody wants to get away from the busy lifestyle. Everybody wants to get away from overcrowded stores and areas. So I don't want to miss out on that come the beginning of the year. And I don't know if we've discussed hiring an individual and try to have them an employee of the city and live in Tucumcari that helps with certain things. Or do we branch out and look at a broader spectrum? I don't know. It's up to Lodgers Tax. It's up to the commission, because ultimately the place where we have the funding to do that as well would be out of the executive side.
The only reason I was pushing for billboards is I figured it was a good opportunity too. We've been talking about billboards for years, like you mentioned now. I'm a little irritated on the billboards as far as they're only 50 miles west of us and then less than 100 miles east of us. But I mean, that's the only reason I was pushing. Like, hey, we have lots of money, let's push on. Then I was talking to somebody after the meeting last time, and they were afraid that we spent this money, it wouldn't have anything for events. And I thought, shoot, no, this is for this year. And then I started thinking, well, we have to sign the contract, so it's for 3 or 5 years. So actually this money, if we approve for billboards, it would be actually for the future budgets. If we focus like on the convention center and stuff, it's a one-time deal. It's not for future budgets. Everybody's gonna think. I'm not saying I'm right, but I mean, we just have an opportunity here to sell our biggest asset, our best asset in the city, promotional wise.
So I think there's a lot of things to be looked at in billboards, and I can just tell you for myself, for my business, I have 2 billboards, and last month I saw 1% benefit from that billboard. It's 2 billboards. So it's very small because of social media and the internet. That's how, as you were saying, that's how everybody moves these days. So the majority of my business comes from that. So I'm wondering, you know, is there a great benefit to the billboards? And there is some benefit, no doubt. But I think there's a lot involved in it. I think there's a lot of things that you have to take into consideration.
I mean, I agree with you. Maybe keep the same budget for billboards and try to expand out instead of so close to the city.
See, now with expanding out, it's hard to kind of see and watch and keep an eye on our boards. Like, for example, I make plenty of trips to Amarillo. I always see which ones are open, which ones are tearing, and which ones are going back, which ones are opportunities for Santa Rosa to pick up. I think that's our biggest threat is the boards here. If we give them up, Santa Rosa's gonna pick them up, and we don't know where it's gonna go from there.
Billboards are restored. And a lot of the travelers I've noticed coming down Route 66, when they stop in a lot of the businesses, they're not planning. I agree, a lot of people use the internet to plan their trip, but not plan their trip. I don't know, I know Larry's in the Route 66 Facebook pages, all of them, for the most part, they don't know what they're gonna do. They're getting on Route 66 and they don't know how long they're gonna drive, they don't know how far they're gonna drive that day. But the billboards start telling the story. As of my past life, when I was a truck driver, I used billboards to know where I'm gonna go to the bathroom next. You know, I read every billboard there was, because if I had to use a restroom, I didn't want to do it on the side of the road. I know that sounds kind of far-fetched, but when you go out, you know, Tucumcari is well known, you know, around the world. I don't know how many tourists come in, they tell us that. But we're well known, but we're well known, but we're not well known. The billboards would tell kind of the story, you know, Blazing Saddles. That's why I thought about, you know, businesses pairing up on billboards. So you got your hotel, you got your restaurant, you got your museum, you got, you know, as much as I like to see this stuff get put online as well, I think the billboards are still very important for those half of us that I don't plan my trips. You know, I hit the road and again, I read the billboards to find out where I'm going to eat next. And you know, that's my character, but we've got all kinds of different people.
And I agree. I think it's part of that whole marketing package. I just wouldn't go all in on billboards. I think we need to be a well-rounded marketing.
Well, and digital's it is really inexpensive for the amount of people you reach. I use it at least once a month. I make my commercials on Facebook, send them out. It costs me $10, and I reach 2,000 people. You know.
So I think with billboards, there's a lot of things that you have to be taken into consideration. Location is critical. Position is critical. And colors, to me, are critical, because when you're driving, if you're driving west at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, it's really hard to read these billboards. So colors, with the sun in the background, colors are important. And then lit at night. If they're not lit at night, they disappear at 5 o'clock. You can't see them at home. So I think a lot of things have to be taken into consideration.
All right, now, we decided to go with the Catalina Motel advertising off in 2 of the exits. 3 years ago, we probably had about 10% of the people that came in and mentioned that sign. As of this year, I am up to 60% of the people that have come in told me that they stopped there because of that advertising.
How many?
60%.
60.
So that's another thing we could think about too.
And that's just the sign,
With the Catalina, it says, the little square thing, it's on the highway, and then as
That's
they come out.
from the state.
Well, actually, we had to go through 2 different, the interstate one is a different program versus 54.
I think you're right, though. I think those are important.
So we decided to keep those. He's more interested in those than the billboards. But he said, also said that it would really be a good idea if you had a billboard somewhere around Fort Worth Dallas area.
Well, I agree with, and this is just my opinion, I agree with Mark, you know, we gotta sit down and how much do we wanna push over here, how much do we wanna put here? And same thing with Matt, you know, the convention center was initially built to increase revenue in the community, not just sit there. And I do agree, it's gotten outdated. Every time we've had people in the ballroom, they complained about the floors. I know we've held, I was president of the Alumni Association for 3 years, and for 3 years, people come from out of town and they complained about the floors. I think if we increase and modernize, we're gonna see a possible influx of people. I don't think we're gonna stay doing virtual stuff. People are getting tired of, I don't like talking virtual, but people are getting tired where they want to interact. And so when it does open up, I think a lot of people will take those advantages. And we've got the motels where we didn't have a couple of years ago. We've got more motel rooms now, and we're about to add on another hotel or motel. I get them mixed up, but we're about to add on to that. So, you know, I think we got right now, just sitting here, we've got 3 avenues that we can be looking at taking. It's going to be effective for people. That's all I got to say about that.
First of all, I would stress that I don't think anyone, including myself, is trying to push the $40,000 on the billboards. That's not what this was about. That's never the intention. We're just looking to expand. As Todd said, billboards tell a story. So the idea is to get enough to where they're connected and they bring travelers along. And I'm like Todd as well. I have some idea what my trip is going to be, but I like to keep it kind of loose and spontaneous. I hate itineraries. I want to travel with people that have itineraries. They're just, I don't know. For me, they just suck the fun. I'm just not that way. But some people like them. I understand that. It's not a, you know, just me. I like to have some idea what's happening, but not plan. And with, if you're doing Route 66, you do kind of have to plan. Some motels, like, you know, if you want to stay at the Blue Swallow, you most likely plan that. The Wigwam and Holbrook, you plan that. So it's kind of a mix. But I think what billboards would do in our case is it tells a story. And that's why we wanted cohesive design that will guide travelers along the road to find us. And if they just keep seeing the same look, then so if we had one on the other side of Amarillo, and then to keep them from stopping in Amarillo, and then one guiding them on into town. If we had same thing for Dallas-Fort Worth areas are leaving, and then as they're getting close to Amarillo, it's like, hey, you don't have to stop here. You can go another hour and a half. You're somewhere a lot better. It's guiding people along, and it's I think what we have going for us is that the town is a unique name. It automatically just, I mean, that's why I stopped there the first time in whatever, 94. I knew nothing about Route 66. I was just on I-40 and saw the sign for Tucumcari and thought, okay, I've never heard of that place. Or didn't know. I don't know if I had or not, but stopped. The name of the town made me stop. And that was the beginning of everything for me. So it does work. But yeah, I don't think we should go all in on billboards. That was never the intent. It was just to expand it somewhat and to get rid of the Sunny 505 ones, because they're just, they're doing more harm than good. And
so I have a suggestion.
okay.
So we all understand that we need to replace the vinyls on the existing billboards.
Yes, that's free, isn't it? It'll be free of charge with Sun Vista. He sent me something, it didn't come till late last night, so I didn't get a chance to read it this morning, but we talked on the phone yesterday briefly. What he'd like to do is forgive the final year of the existing contract, which would be the year beginning January 1. And then with the initiation of a new 3-year contract, with that, they will replace the vinyls free of charge for the existing billboards. That's a great deal.
I think so.
So we get rid of those next year.
Here's my second suggestion is that I would like to see at least 10,000 put towards 2 new billboards that we could pick up in the market depending on where they're at. 10,000 divided by 12, we're estimating about $800 a month. That equates to almost 2 billboards that we could pick up in key markets that I think we can spend.
In my opinion, I think that's great. I was willing to double the current budget was 12,400 or 12,000 something. So 10,000, I'm more than okay with.
Well, before we start signing dollar values, we probably need to look at all the possibilities here before because I just want to clear it up with billboard. But yeah, we do need to, I mean, I was thinking like if we did 20,000, that would give us 4 for sure, maybe 5, but there's a lot of areas, the handouts that Sun Vista and Lamar provided last meeting. Those give you a rundown cost per month. There's also tax, if they're lit, there's that, there's additional fee for lighting. So there's variables. Some are only $300 a month, but they're not lit, and there's stuff at tax. So, you do the math, we could get 2 for sure for 10,000.
Yeah.
With 20, we could get 4, possibly 5. So we would just have to look at that. But we would get the artwork, the production work would be free, the design work to create the billboard designs would be free. So that's a lot of value there. Okay, so let's.
Are we going to come back to that?
Yeah, because if we're going to decide, then we need to decide if we want to secure any of these ones that are currently available. Because they've all made generous offers to hold on some of these for us until we're ready. So we need to decide that today. We're going to put a hold on any. Okay. So the other, where do you want? You got more? You want
No,
to discuss right now? Okay.
From the last.
Okay. So intercity signage. I don't think there's resolution with the street pole banners, with the possibility of street pole banners yet, right? We're still working with Excel. Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of.
So that may be tabled for now. If we can get them, then we have existing banners. I don't know if those have been found yet, but we know they exist.
Have not been able to find them. I'm not even sure they're still around anymore. We've looked at numerous locations, different warehouses and whatnot, and really, wow, they do not seem to be coming up. Not sure what the issue was, if they're old and weathered, if that's why they're taken down originally. I don't know if it was something to do with Excel, if we were forced to take them down. I couldn't tell you. So I have sent staff out to go look and not been successful in finding them.
Okay, well, appreciate that. So, some of that can be held off for now until we know more. And, it's also something that, businesses can sponsor. There's other ways to go about some of that kind of thing. Businesses could choose to sponsor a banner. So print and online advertising. The thing we got to remember too is that we didn't give the chamber any funds for this fiscal year. I mean, they ended up getting a little bit from executive, but nothing from the promotional side. So right now there's really not money allotted for any of these magazines that we were advertising in, and looking at I didn't bring it with me to grab it, but the proposal that Carmen gave back in the spring when we were initially discussing budget is over 10,000 for print ads for, I think, maybe 5 magazines. So what we're kind of doing now, we're not really deciding. We don't have to decide what magazines we want, but we need to decide if we're going to give a lot of money to print advertising for the rest of this fiscal year. Going into this, if we want to advertise winter through spring in Route Magazine or Route 66 Magazine. The others were American Road, the Quarterly New Mexico Magazine, and the New Mexico 66 Association Magazine. So those, I think, were the 5 she listed. But at the time we were running advertising in. And some of those we have. I know the Association Magazine, we have very good placement. So that would be one that we would be sacrificing if we let it go. And somebody else would scoop it up. So there are considerations there. So we need to decide what we want to do with print. Online advertising, I really know very little about. I know, yeah, you push a Facebook post for a few bucks, and so it's definitely seems much less expensive. So that's one consideration on that. And then we're looking at the printing of promotional materials, and we have to do that. We have to have a new district guide going into the new year, so there will be cost. And what Carmen had asked for that was $6,500 to create a smaller batch of existing district guides to match up with the mural maps that you've reprinted to get us through this year. So again, I don't have an exact amount on what this would cost, but to show you just for visual aid, I think possibly what we're looking at doing is something more like this size, magazine style. I mean, still not final, but one all-in-one guide that has heavier stock cover and a centerfold that would be a map, fold-out map, perhaps. So that would be mural map, the Main Street, 66, the whole town, everything, all in one that we can hand to a guest, not a stack of stuff. So that's, you know, it would not be this thick. This is for the state of Arizona on 66. It's a really cool guide, though. They did a nice job. So something like that is what we're looking at for promotional for a visitor guide for the coming year. So we'll need to allot money for that.
I have a question towards promotional. So with our Glen Rio Visitor Center, in the past, we've always put flyers and brochures and everything like that. As soon as we have a guide and once it's all done and over with, what are the opportunities towards Glen Rio or renting space or something or putting a digital screen and advertising more towards Tucumcari Prairie? That's
like a kiosk.
Like a kiosk, yeah.
It was, I think maybe it's still there, but of course they've been closed this year, so.
Yeah.
I think it was there and then we weren't keeping it up, or maybe we let it go, I don't know.
I have no knowledge of that. All I know is Glen Rio is operated by the state through tourism. It takes some coordination with them. Are you saying something purchased from the city actually installed on their state property? That would be
Something towards that where we focus more towards Tucumcari having a digital screen out there.
Kind of like the TV at the convention center when you walk
Yeah.
in.
And it just shows slides of Tucumcari and it has a little brochure rack and pay to play or something.
I think that'd be more effective than a brochure.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Because there's a lot of tourists that go in there and they can see it, pick up a rack card, come into town. Or, you know, scan a QR and go on to our website, this would get channel traffic towards it.
I mean, it would be something, I mean, we do a visitor guide, this is every town, every state has a guide. You got something tangible you can hand people. But yes, that's another good option. I don't know if we want to put it now in this, but visitor centers aren't even open. We don't know when they will be. So something we can look into and start maybe for next fiscal year.
Yeah, because they will eventually open up.
But there's something still there, I believe. It's just we've abandoned it. It's like a sad, empty kiosk.
Even
Which
putting
makes it
like
look worse.
floor stickers and stuff like that. I mean, whatever opportunities.
I think we just need to speak with them, and I don't know, maybe above them, they may have to get some approval from the tourism department, but it's always definitely worth a chance.
Maybe once they reopen, we get in touch and see what's still there and see. So I don't know where that originated. I don't know if that was Lodgers Tax. It wasn't before me. You remember, you were on it before. You remember anything about it?
No.
So I don't know where that came. Richard Calley probably knows. So that's the only reason I know about it. I'll try to find out a little bit more, but I don't think there's really there's even contact right now. State tourism, I guess the state tourism department. don't know. But yeah, I think that's something we look ahead to, because I agree, it would be nice. Something nice to have strong representation, especially since we're really the first stop coming into New Mexico.
Yeah, it's a big spot.
So we got,
A nice display or something would bring you more.
Yeah.
No?
Are there any other additional opportunities that we want to throw into this?
There's a few that I want to bring up. Vincent's back again. He wanted to give y'all an idea of what they're wanting to do. He has a nice little sizzle reel to share with y'all, and then as well as Connie has a possible opportunity. That'd be great for Chicken Curry as well. So, if you don't mind, I'd let them do that now, and then we can turn off the lights. I feel like I've been in the dark the whole time.
I figure it was a reason. No, that's fine. Let's just get everything in front of us so we.
And that's my thing. That's how I try to organize. Just get everything thrown out, every possible idea we may have to have funded or would like to have funded, and then look at our available budget and then break it down maybe with the spreadsheet. Say, look, we have this amount of money. We are willing to give this much out of promotional to this area. We're willing to give this much out of executive to this area, and that way we have hard numbers coming. I know like Mike said, I like to see action. I like to see things moving forward. It seems we've had a lot of discussion, but I mean, eventually we're going to have to start making some decisions on putting hard dollar amounts to these things. That way we have a firm budget to move forward and know what we're working with.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping to.
Cable.
You want the speaker as well?
Sure. Well, wait a minute, what kind of plug do you have?
It's just a USB.
Here's an HDMI. HDMI.
There is no input signal detected.
So when you were talking about events, because we've already allotted money to, the ones that haven't canceled, the ones for River Springs, we got Rawhide, we have Music Showcase and Rock 366, those are still part of the budget.
Yeah, but
On
in
that
the
additional
future,
money?
yeah, no, in the future, because when we do the billboards, thank you. I was thinking, if we do the billboards, which I think we should, I was thinking, hopefully we have this extra money. But we have to sign a contract for 3 years. So in the future budgets, the events will lose money if we, you know what I'm trying to say?
No, it's a long-term commitment, it's not just the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm for billboards, I'm not backtracking.
I guess my thinking was that the convention center will be paid off, so that frees up some money. Well, this is something we need to decide, we're more aggressive.
I mean, all your ideas were great. Everybody's ideas were great. I mean, this is just a different way to look at it.
Morning.
Okay, good morning.
How are you folks doing today? I brought this sheet down because I've been hearing a lot this morning about marketing and advertising. I just want to stress with the Advanced Enchantment Program, we're going to be doing a lot of that marketing and advertising as well too. List some of the platforms that we will be doing on there and some of the benefits, key points of having Advanced Enchantment into the area. So, and I'm going to play this little reel here for you. Just give you an idea of what we're planning. Now, we had to borrow a lot of footage. We didn't come down and shoot, so we borrowed a lot of footage from New Mexico Tourism and from yours as well.
So I was born in a small town in southeast New Mexico, called Vaughn. Right on the state line, New Mexico.
Just a short little sizzle reel, we call that. Just to give you an idea of what we're planning on doing, showing the intro up to Tucumcari, promoting Route 66 and Tucumcari on the show. So it's going to be a major part of the show, is promoting Tucumcari and the musicians. Now, the act that we did in here was to show a bigger concert from the convention center, what it could be. But, you know, with COVID and things how they are right now, we've looked at it again, you know, looking at doing smaller shows, more private, more secure, more following the healthcare guidance that we have to follow. That's, you know, it's a show that we can do a lot of promotion for on this. That's what we're going to be doing too. We're going to be growing the Bands of Enchantment from Tucumcari. It's going to be national, it's regionally. So we have paper, we're going to do articles, we're going to do social media. We're also going to do and maybe develop a special app for Bands of Enchantment that people can follow up and so forth on a program, and maybe consider doing live streaming on the app. I did one of those before for New Mexico Highlands for their athletics department, and it worked out pretty good doing that. And that's really what I wanted to show you, is this reel, and share those key points with you. I know you're still considering on where you want to put your funds to. So I thought maybe those key points might help you look at things a little bit differently. Are there any questions?
You need about 15,000 for the.
Yeah, the whole budget's 26, so we're gonna have to raise the rest of the capital.
Okay, for the pilot show.
Yeah. And we're not just locked into 8 shows, so we can do more 8 shows. If it does well, we can continue and keep going and promote Tucumcari and Bands of Enchantment as well.
So I'm sorry, what are we being asked that we weren't asked 2 weeks ago? I'm confused.
I brought to you the key points to show you a little bit more. I didn't go over, I don't think, any of the ideas as far as how we're going to market it and advertise it, because you're going to be with us when we do this as well too. When we do a newspaper article, of course, we're going to talk about where we're at and why we're here. And then we're also doing an advertisement. It's going to be an advertisement to it's going to be there. So we're looking at magazines. It could be Amarillo Monthly. It could be the Journal's entertainment section guide. It could be Texas Monthly. But those are some of the magazines that we're looking at doing, as well as newspapers that we're going to do. And then we have social media. We're going to do Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Any way we can get the message out is what we're going to be doing with the program. Because the more people watch the show, the more people are going to come here as well. And if they can't come for the show, then next time they'll come through again. You know, they'll be coming through. So the main thing I wanted to do today was to share those key points as far as the marketing and advertising, and some of the other things that come with it. There's extension for maybe some possible jobs, more people working on the set with us. We're going to have to hire some tradespeople, you know, for stages, sets, so forth. So there's a little bit more to it than just the entertainment and the advertising and marketing side of it. And I guarantee we're going to hire all the contractors and electricians and everybody, but you know, as we get going, there's a spin-off from that.
Okay. I'm a little confused. The $15,000, I thought it was coming out of executive.
It is.
But so ultimately, the reason Vince and I have been talking, he asked when should he come back to the next meeting. He's obviously interested. I know Lodgers Tax is interested. I'm interested. The city's interested. This is a great opportunity. The only thing we've talked about is dollar amount. And of course, you know me, I run a tight budget. I'm a haggler, so anything I can do to try to bring that down as much as we can. We're going to do that as a city of Tucumcari. We want to be the most efficient city that we can be. So when you look at that and you're looking at the convention center, I think I briefly touched on it last meeting. Once everything's able to be open up to the public, we want to be able to have at least one of the concerts or whatnot filmed out at the convention center. You allow for a larger capacity of citizens to attend. And there's, of course, anti-donation. So we said, how can we be in compliance with law but get the best bang for our buck? And some of the things we discussed was letting them have a concert at the convention center for free. or as far as no charge to Bands of Enchantment to rent out the facility. And the way we're able to do that is open the concert for free to the whole community. Anybody that wishes to attend until we hit capacity for the building, we're able to do that. We're able to give back to the community. It's a free concert. It draws people in. Hopefully they'll stay the night. They're eating at our restaurants. They're staying the night in our motels and our hotels. And I agree. That's one thing I discussed with Vince that I wanted to make clear today is with the funds he's requesting, it's not just specifically just to film the show and to produce it and whatnot and be on site. With that, a lot of other things are coming with it. The multiple advertising opportunities throughout newspapers, ads, social media, whatnot. The opportunity to bring a few extra temporary jobs to help set things up and set up stages in different locations. We've talked about the rail depot and other locations. My thing is I wanted it to be on the radar of the lodgers tax. That way y'all have a formal opinion on how to move forward. That way we could get that to the commission, because you know the commission, as they should, they heavily weigh the opinion of the lodgers tax. It's ultimately the vote and decision of the commission to allocate the funds. But we want to keep you all in mind as a lodgers tax. You know, I'm clear on communication. I want to be transparent. I want everything to be upfront. And I want to start making changes. I think this fits well with our future marketing plans. And we'll learn more as we have more with Main Street. But sometimes you have to have change to make the town better. And we may have been doing it a certain way for a long time. We've kind of sat stagnant, and we got to get excited, and we have to have buy-in from the community, from the city. So that's where we're at. I mean,
There's a lot of marketing and advertising that we should tie in together.
What's the immediate relevance I see is that, okay, so we're talking about print ads and online advertising, is that we have to remember that it's not just up to what we do as a city. Other things such as this tie in with anything that brings an audience to our town. It all works together. So it's not just, if we don't buy advertising in 5 magazines, that just, you know, not just up to us. I guess is the point, is that this will bring additional marketing efforts, and just like other entities within the town, if your business advertises, that's bringing.
Have you seen anything towards like businesses sponsoring and wanting to advertise?
Have I talked to some businesses?
Yes.
Yeah, I have talked to some already, and they're interested, but I don't want to push the envelope until we've all on an agreement, and then we're going to move forward with it. And I would want to get them all excited, get to the point we sign paper, and we're not there.
Because I'm personally waiting for your phone.
I was going to call you too, but at the same time, we can open up a conversation about it, and so we move into that more direction, and something there that we can start offering some advertisers. I've even reached out to Tractor Supply. It's good for them. They're here in your town, and they're pretty much throughout New Mexico, I believe. So it's good for them as well too. I have talked to the New Mexico Tourism Department as well, and they like what we're doing here, so they might, have it gone any further, how we can work with them. But they're interested. In fact, they're the ones pointing in this direction. Everyone's here.
Mr. Chair, you have my vote.
Yeah, I mean, so, like, we'll go 100% enthusiastic.
Okay.
I think one good bump for this too could be that with our June event, or one of our June events, Rockberry 66, was canceled for this past summer. But those of us that sponsor, those sponsorships are rolling over to next year, so I'm not gonna have to spend that money for 2021 for them. I'll do a bigger sponsorship for it. So that's, even though it's been a lean year, I think people, they're putting money aside to do things like this. That could be a bump, because we won't have to spend on that next 2021.
I think we talked about it. I summed out at the convention, looked at the museum, and it might be a good opening show to shoot it out at the museum throughout 66.
Cool.
And for 2021, start pulling people this way. Well, they already are coming through here, but one stop.
And the other thing we mentioned last meeting is some discussions we had behind the scenes was we're able to actually tie this in with the other events where you're willing to use some of their talent, some of their events to get some of that video quality to say, hey, look at this crowd, look at the cars, look what we're bringing, the different smaller pieces to the event that bring together the car shows and whatnot. So we're able to tie that in, and it'll be not only broadcast through, for example, say the Rockin' 66 event. Not only do they have their platform where they're pushing it out, you're going to be pushing out yourself with the television show, and you're saying, hey, look, here's a Rockin' 66 event, come out, check it out. We're doing a live recording or something. We have a concert. So I mean, it all ties together, and I think this only strengthens and helps out the other entities. Same thing with Rawhide. Again, we were planning to do all of this before COVID hit, and it was going to be all tied together with Bands of Enchantment, because you're showcasing talent from across the country, but we want to focus on New Mexico too, and that's why we talked about New Mexico music. We're going to do the New Mexico Music Festival, and you have some more personalization and some culture added into what New Mexico brings, what they offer, as well as we don't want to rule out the big name people. That's going to draw more people to our town, and of course we want to stay nice with our neighbors to the east in Texas, and they're willing to come spend their money here, then why not?
Okay. We appreciate your time again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Very enthusiastically on board. We'll see this happen. Yeah, I mean, it goes back, you just remember that there's all these different efforts. What we're trying to do with what we have here, this money is to use it for the basics and more of the incorporating that. I mean, the foundation for all this other stuff, because you have to have some things, you have to have some advertising, you have to have a visitor guide. There's some just basics that need to be taken care of. So we need those things when people do come here or if they're thinking about coming here. So a good reminder that all this other stuff is happening between what this would be doing, what Rockin' 66, the promotional efforts they put into bringing people here and already have. All that's huge part of the bigger picture.
Well, and I think that's what I was looking for today. Like, so Vincent is pushing forward. What is a Lodgers tax thinking as far as a dollar amount? What do you think is $15,000 acceptable? Are you wanting to maybe try to bring that down? What can we do to lower that cost? Because again, this is going to be the pilot show. If that hits off and it goes well, you're probably going to get more interest from sponsorship and people wanting to advertise. But at that point, there's still going to be reoccurring costs. Are we going to try to make Took and Trade at home and try to shoot every episode here? Or are we just going to say, okay, we're fine with one show, and then they could go on and travel the rest of New Mexico? And that's where I just don't want to get tunnel vision and say, oh yeah, we're on board, it's great, but we got to look at the big picture. What are we doing long term? Are we going to try, is this something we'd be interested for?
So how long does it take to do a show? I mean, does it take 6 weeks to make a show, a week, we have a show on?
A week. I'm gonna say a week. Start planning ahead of time. Of course, we have to, and right now, I guess the good part is, as bad as it seems, is that with the COVID that hit, right now there's a lot of entertainers. Prior to COVID, we're already starting to get booked. Right now, they're not booked. So this makes it a good opportunity to start attracting some headliners at a good time. They're not booked, they're not looking to book into big areas, they're looking at smaller shows. So that's one good sign. If we can pull this together and we're doing the smaller shows, then we're probably looking, a week, within a week, less than a week, do a show here in town and come in and do it.
I mean, I personally don't want to do one show and send them on their way because I want to, run with it, but the money situation might not be possible. But the 15,000, in my opinion, that's doable. I don't know if the city manager is willing to
So my recommendation, nothing against Vince, he's a great guy. I think it's a great opportunity, but of course, we're always trying to stretch that dollar and get as much as we can. I'd be looking a little bit less, honestly, than that much an episode, and I'll explain why once we talk about the next opportunity. I think it's great. I want Bands of Enchantment to live here in Tucumcari. I want them to be located out of Tucumcari. But at the same time, if we're looking long term, we're not going to be able to afford $15,000 an episode. That's obvious. So my thought is, this is kind of testing the waters. We see what the first episode is. We're happy as a community. We're happy as a city of Tucumcari. We're happy as Lodgers Tax. We'll say, hey, look, let's start, maybe bump down. Can you do with 10, 12,000, not 15? We can negotiate. Start from there. And if we're really happy with the product and we get that first episode, now we come back to the table again and say, hey, let's negotiate maybe 2, 3 more episodes or the whole season. But I'm hoping it sparks enough interest where the city's not having to foot the bill to do this, that their name's out there more. We'll get more sponsorship and more advertising that way. We're not paying for this. Vince isn't paying for it. The city of Tucumcari is not paying for it. The sponsors and advertisers are, and that's the ultimate goal, I think. And that's the direction I want to see what you want to do. I'd maybe test it for one episode and see where we're at, and we say, oh, okay, maybe it wasn't what we expected. Let's go back to the drawing board. Or it was great. It was a home run. Let's move forward. Let's throw some more money at this.
And go back to what we're talking about here. So all this it's a cycle, because businesses are going to feel more encouraged and confident to sponsor if tourism is up and people are coming to town. And that happens by doing the necessary marketing that we need to do. So all this ties together. So we spend on some things to bring more people in, to make more money, that we can then do more like this and sponsor. So it's all tied together. That's why I don't want to go too far one way or the other. I get everything has been discussed. I get the needs, but we're only talking about $40,000. We can't save the world. We need to decide what we're going to do, the best way to spend that money right now. And
Has
but
anybody
that's the thing, all
thought
this
about
ties
bringing
together.
this up with the municipalities in the area, like Logan? San Home? Yeah, they would like to.
They have a motel in Logan. Where's that Lodgers Tax go to?
So Lodgers Tax is specific to the municipality with city limits.
It may be being done here, but it's an opportunity for Logan. It's an opportunity for San Home. It's an opportunity for Conscious. Even though Conscious is in another county, they link up with us constantly. It could also be another opportunity for even the smaller towns, I think, outside of the state line that's just on the other side, if they would like to jump in and participate as well. It's still a region. It's like Mr. Vince said, this is a regional thing. I'm not a fan of Santa Rosa, but it's also something Santa Rosa would like to piggyback on,
It's a great opportunity for them to advertise.
Yes.
And you're watching the show and say, hey, look, we're focusing on Tucumcari, but hey, while you're here and enjoying the show and going to these concerts, you got 2 lakes next to you. They could advertise in Ute Lake, Conscious Lake, come spend the weekend or something.
If we want to cut the cost, that's just something that.
Yeah, I agree with everything except San Jose.
Even at one time we partnered up with Russia to win a World War. So.
Yeah.
I hate to use that.
I think there's some good, like Russell's Travel Center, I think could be a good.
Yeah.
That would be a good, even do a show in Glen Rio, a little ghost town. But how awesome would that be to stage something there? I mean, it's Route 66. So get Russell's involved, get some of these other.
I just think we need to,
around.
maybe we can go outside the city limits.
I agree with that. Yeah, just not Santa Rosa. Santa Rosa.
Just don't go too south. Or east or west.
I don't know. I just want to give them an inch. We can see.
When you look for advertising, and are you doing it per episode, or are you doing it for like a particular timeline? Or?
They're broken down in seconds, so how many seconds you want to purchase in will fall into how many episodes you're gonna be in. Because we only have so much time within that half hour that we can fit in.
Right.
Commercials. So if you want to do 4 30-second commercials, you can get one, this one, and this one. Or we try to come down to where it equals out. Maybe you'll do a full 30-second, and then we do a 15-second and another 15-second quick thing. Sponsorships are different. Because when we do that, it can't be a call to action. It has to be, it's a sponsorship. This section brought to you by Russell's or somebody, and it can't be a call to action advertisement. It can't be come down and buy right now, we have the best deals. So sponsorships are a little bit different, and they can be a little bit longer with more communication, more than a call to action on sponsorships. But the sponsorships will be with every show. Advertising will have to manipulate and work within the time frame, that 30 seconds, 15 seconds, and so forth.
So what do you allocate as far as the 30 minutes? Do you allocate 22 minutes to music and 8 minutes to advertising?
Yeah, well, and right now we can go even further up to 28 minutes. So it all really is going to boil down to the support that we pull in, that we're going to go to full 28 minutes or stay at 22 minutes. Okay, so they've given us that flexibility to increase the time or reduce how we feel, depending on sponsors and advertisers that we have. So if we get enough, then we can do the full amount. And as far as sponsorships, working with the city, I mean, we are willing to do it in a way that we are also associated with a 501 fiscal sponsor that we could do something back to the lodger's tax. But that's something that takes a little bit more thinking, a little bit more work. So there is that possibility too. So if we do a sponsorship, we can give something back to lodger's tax as well.
Because we are running out of time.
Okay.
I didn't a lot for some of this stuff today. But, we appreciate coming back in.
Well, I appreciate you giving me the time.
More light. If we're gonna make any kind of decisions today, we gotta get moving. Do we have, is somebody coming in at no, you're fine. So you have
all you need, as long as you're willing to say. As long as you're out of here by 5, because we have a work session by 5.
We're here until 5, I'm in trouble because I got rooms to clean.
All right, let's.
You have to do this real quick, or you want to move on?
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
I won't take up too much time because I know this is already going a lot longer than you anticipated. But I was approached last week by Fast TV Network with an opportunity for Tucumcari. They're the ones that were here last year. They were through a couple of weeks ago, filmed some footage around town for an episode that aired last night. Basically doing a check-in of businesses along route. They went the entire route from Chicago all the way out to California. I don't know if they went to California, but there's footage from California. Basically checking in, seeing how everybody was doing. They were really impressed with all of the stuff going on in Tucumcari, talking to her, the Apache being restored, Loretta's moving. They said Tucumcari had more activity going on than anywhere else they saw along the route except Tulsa. So they pitched an idea for an episode focusing on historic preservation of signs and hotels and buildings and stuff. They want this to not only be an episode for Legends of Route 66, but they want to submit it as a documentary on the film festivals. So they are asking for $3,000 from the city to cover location production expenses only. So the total cost of the episode to do this is $20,000. They're willing to pick up the rest of that. They just need the money to mobilize and get down here, film, that kind of thing. If we're interested in doing this, like they're wanting to be back here next week to start filming. They're ready to go. They're excited about what's going on.
So the only issue, I didn't have that in on time for the agenda for the commission meeting. We would have to either push it back and wait till the October 8th or have to have a special meeting because it does have to be an official action item.
I mean, I'm not too, but can't you approve everything under 10,000?
Yeah, it's a little great.
One other thing on that episode that aired last night, Rob texted me just a little while ago. It dropped at 9:30, and at 7:30 this morning, it was already coming up on 1 million views. So, you know, they have a huge international.
Last year when they did it, didn't it, within 24 hours, had over 4 million views?
3
million.
3 million. They're anticipating
less than
these new
24 hours.
episodes. Their viewer audience is growing exponentially, and they're anticipating about 5 million views per episode.
So long story short, I think for the investment of $3,000, nearly 5 million views is amazing.
That you can't beat that. So anyway, I wanted to present that to the board. I think the city's looking at executive funds for that, but they always like your approval and everybody to hear about it. So, just so you guys are aware, they're going to be coming back, and they want to. Hopefully, they're coming back. I should get the cart before the horse. But it's such a good opportunity, and they're really enthusiastic. I don't know if you guys know, they moved their headquarters from Colorado to Albuquerque, so they're actually based out of New Mexico now. So this is an easy place for them to get to feature us. Thank you.
So if we could get y'all to give some kind of formal opinion, I could at least start the conversation with the commission tonight in my manager's report. Say, hey, look, this is an opportunity. We don't want this to pass. And then once I get some kind of at least verbal, it can't be an official, I could have Connie reach out and get this locked in. We don't want to miss out on a great opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, for $3,000 and it's not coming out of our budget, yeah.
So what are they exactly gonna be doing? Just videoing?
No, they want to do more talking to the people that are actually doing the work and featuring different motels, featuring some of the stuff along the talking tour, featuring the museums. They've picked up on what Karen, the motel sign that we're raising the funds to get back. They want to feature talking about that. They're going to bring a neon person in, a neon restoration person in to look at some of the neon and talk about on film what it would take, you know, to get some of these signs up and going, which that neon sign that's coming back here, we're at $1,000 raised in 24 hours.
It might spark
and that's not with the $1,000 match that's coming from out of town.
And it may spark some interest where we may have some people who are interested in investing in Tucumcari, and they happen to see the episode and say, hey, we want to invest and maybe give back, or some grant opportunities that would help us. And I think, to me, what catches my eye, I like the bright, shiny, lit up things. So yeah, it'd be nice to get as much neon up and down 66 Main Street that we can, and really make that an additional attraction where you have to see that at night. You can't see it during the day. So that encourages people to stay the night.
That's what I tell people when they take pictures of my sign. You really should come back after it turns dark. It's beautiful. You're not seeing nothing now. And they come back.
All right, so you're looking for just a recommendation from us. The 3,000 come out of the executive. The other discussion, just we want to
No.
everybody yay or nay? Yay. Okay. Again, full recommendation from us. So I think it is a great opportunity. They've been really good to us so far. Definitely a lot of views. Yeah, some of that, I mean, again, it goes back into what we're talking about here. There's only so much we can do with this, but there's all this other going on that it all ties together. But okay. So is there any other additional opportunities to be done? Okay. So then we need to look at, Mark, let me ask you one thing, because Rochelle's not here. So we came up with a figure of 40, just under 40,000. That's based on what is truly available to us right now. And that's not counting what could be made available if the rest of the fiscal year goes better than expected, or if it's, you know, because we had such a low estimate or low budget coming into the fiscal year. It was what, 60, 65, somewhere.
I believe, I don't have
Around that, yeah, I've got it somewhere, but, it was low. So anything we make, you know, 61.5 is what we worked with, back in the spring for this fiscal year. So there's, to me, a pretty good chance we're gonna have more, you know.
And I know,
as
I
the year
hate
goes
to
on.
say this, but there's money in cash. There's 47,000 in cash. So we're not just locked in at this
Well,
39.
and Rochelle advised us on that, and
So we actually have 87.
What?
We actually have 87.
Yes. Yeah. Do we just want to go nuts and spend 87?
No, but I mean, we shouldn't be just looking at 40 either.
Yeah. It's always have a little, it's good to have some money put back, because an opportunity could come along that, you know, who knows?
Well, that's my recommendation. So think about it. We're going into next calendar year, and we'll see what happens with COVID. But if we are able to open, we do have 2 events that will be scheduled within this current fiscal year. So they've already been approved at their dollar amount, and we want to save a little overhead. That way, we are able to possibly give back and make that event even better by throwing a little bit of extra funding there. But again, that's why I feel we have to look at our bottom line budget right now without tapping into cash. Look what we have available. Look at all of our opportunities as far as print media, billboards, everything. Combine it all together and get one big plan to say, look, this is what we want to do moving forward. We want to give this amount to film here. We want to give this amount from executive to film here. We want this amount for promotional to go towards further billboards, to go towards brochures and whatnot. And then once we have that whole concept, then we could say, we could give hard dollar amounts. Because right now it's kind of, oh, we may do this, we may not. We're not sure on this aspect. So I think the sooner we have a whole complete concept moving forward, that's where we could actually divvy up the money where it needs to be. I think the only thing that's really time sensitive was that we probably need to make a decision today. If not, we push it back to October, is acquiring the billboards if we want to on those locations. Other than that, everything's kind of at a standstill. I'd recommend holding off on the brochures and whatnot until we have more of a true vision moving forward based on the branding. That way it kind of ties everything together, colors, fonts, etc. But I think the one thing that's really pressing right now is whether or not to acquire the additional billboards at those locations.
Okay.
And
What
the
we're
cost
looking at is
associated.
what they presented a couple weeks ago. And those are just what is the ones that are available at this moment. They could still be available in 3 months. They may not be. There may be different ones available. So it's not that if there's anything in this batch that really jumped out and we thought was, you know, just a must-have, then we secure those. If not, then we allocate what we want to spend on certain things. So if we're saying we're going to set aside this amount for billboards, then we know we have that to work with. Once the Main Street team is done with the design, then we know we got that and we work towards that. I mean, again, stressing too, this money is for the current fiscal year. It doesn't, I get the need to, you know, to spend immediately, but you know, we don't have to. This is money that is available for this fiscal year, and we're looking at hopefully some recovery next year from this current one, next calendar year from this current one. No, I'm just saying we can put it. That's what we're looking at. So let's stick with the 40.
So this is what I was thinking. We could save $10,000 for 2 billboards. At least $10,000 pending on Glen Rio. I'm really hoping that they would work with us and we will purchase some equipment, and that is a bigger opportunity to funnel. And I'm thinking $10,000 for that. maybe leave a little bumper phone, might need some more.
And then what about the convention center?
Convention center, depending on the wish list and how fast we can move forward, there's at least 20,000 in there. Out of the 40.
Because, I mean, now's the time to do it. Now that everything's closed.
Of course.
We should, I think, number one, that should be our number one priority.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just pending on the wish list, and we can get some money towards it.
So for sure, right now, with the money that we have just in this current budget, like I said, it's $50,000 for renovations. So 100% I can knock out that restroom, that'll be done. Where I'll need additional funds and I'll have to come back to y'all. Once I get a hard number, I'll come back to y'all and ask for money to do the flooring. And then at that point, we'll see where we stand, because I don't have a number. I'm assuming it's gonna be $100,000 to $200,000 just for the flooring convention center. It's not gonna be cheap. And I do not want to tap all of that cash from the executive side in a hurry just for the sake of spending it now. It's something we need to do, but we need to be cautious too and save money for the future. Like I said, for AC units, for something that goes down, if an oven goes down in the kitchen, we need to save some money. I don't want to deplete all of the funds in a hurry.
We can also prioritize the projects that would make more sense now that it is closed. Not everything has, some things can be done while it's open. But flooring, definitely you would want to do now. Things like that make sense. The bathroom could be done later. Just, it could be inconvenient to close one. We've got one that's done. So it's, I don't know, I feel like we're just shooting all over the place here.
And that's why I'd recommend, whether it's the next meeting or not, again, getting a spreadsheet, looking how much we have in executive, how much we want to roll over for future, and say, look, we're already committing somewhere between 10 to 15 for Bands of Enchantment. We're committing 3,000 for this other show, and start subtracting and say, look, how much do we have to play with? Then we get our quote. How much is it going to be to do the flooring? Okay, we can't do all the flooring. We can only do the main ballroom this year. We need to have hard set numbers. I know it's great to have all these ideas and discuss it, but until we really break down the budget and have hard numbers, we're kind of just going in circles.
Yeah. Well, some things are essential. I mean, we're skipping over again the visitor guide. We need a visitor guide. It's not and we're getting the design work free, which is amazing. I mean, we cannot not have a visitor guide to hand to people when they come to town. So that's an essential. It's something that we did not give the chamber as we typically do. So this is money that would have been spent anyway. So we have to have a visitor guide. We have to do at least some print advertising. We don't have to do all 5 magazines, but we need to do something. We need to have a presence for that audience. So there's some things that this money would have went towards anyway. So we need to not just go chasing all these other ideas. Plus, keep in mind too that yes, the convention center is paid off. There will be money freed up next year to do some projects. So yes, we want to do what we can now while it's closed. I get that, but we also want to make sure that we have an audience. We have people coming to use it. We don't want to just have a big, beautiful convention center sitting there empty. We still have to attract people to this town to actually make use of it. So there's a lot of factors at play here. You can't just go all in on.
I mean, what about just using the money that we were going to use for the visitor guide for digital Facebook campaign instead of like a visitor guide?
We need a visitor guide. I don't know how they explain this, but you have to have something tangible that you hand to people when they come in. I mean, I work in my hotel lobby, people come in and they ask for that. You have a guide. They want to go explore. They don't want to look at their phones necessarily, especially older people. They want a tangible item they hold in their hands that they can flip through and read. And I mean, they love the mural map, and that's why I usually push, because it's actually better map than what's in the visitor guide. But,
so who's putting this visitor guide together?
New Mexico Main Street. So once the design, the style guide, the logo, all this is in place, they are creating 3 items for us free of charge. 3 meetings. That's again, awesome. That's money we're not having to spend, which is great. One of those we're hoping to make a district guide, and then the other one will be the website redesign. And we haven't chosen a third. And this isn't completely final either, but that's what we're looking at right now.
I mean,
so it's just something every town, every state, they have these. It's just, we have to have one. They have to be printed. It's, that has to come out of this budget. I mean,
I think $2,500 just to print them, because that's more than enough, because half the year, for this budget, half the year is gone. And the time y'all get this printed out.
it's for the spring, it's for the next calendar year. We're talking about being prepared for March forward.
And then you can print some more after the next budget.
But if Carmen was asking for $6,500 to print a small batch of the ones that were half that size. Now, I don't know. I have not gotten quotes from a print shop. I don't know what it will cost, but obviously we're talking about more than $2,500.
I mean, I don't think we should spend a lot on it. I mean, in 10 years, you say every city has it. I don't think in 10 years every city will have it. It's going to be more digital.
We're not printing them for the next 10 years. We're printing them for the next calendar year, for 2021. So I'm printing enough to have on hand to give to guests, to visitors in the city, to entice people to come to the city. They would be stocked at the visitor centers. They would be stocked all around town, just like the current visitor guides are.
Which we do lack. So, for example, the main tourism department in Santa Fe, they have a whole room of the different sections of the state, Northeast, Southeast, etc. And one place that's lacking our material, our pamphlets, our rat cards, visitor guides, etc. We are lacking, and we're being overlooked in Santa Fe, where a lot of tourists come in to that exact visitor center, and we're missing out on that, potentially a few people. And again, I think it's all part of the whole plan. I think we need to have a little bit of everything. You still have to have billboards, you still have to have digital, but you still have to have the hard copy handouts. It's a preference. It's based on the your target audience. Who are you trying to attract to Tucumcari? We want everybody to come to Tucumcari, so you have to have a little bit of everything. But I do agree. I visited the visitor center there in Santa Fe, and we are outdated and lacking, and we have a bare spot. And it is embarrassing.
In Rio when I was in there before they closed. Yeah, I mean, Santa Rosa had a nice big shiny magazine out there. We had that little skimpy guy that you can't read. So it's just having that presence so people are attracted to come here. I mean, technically we need just a rack card as well, but I'm not even pushing that right now. I'm just saying, let's get the visitor guide.
How much do you want for the visitor guide? 6,500?
No, I don't know how many exactly that was going to print. That's the thing. I do not have a quote. I don't know exactly. That's not my thing. I don't print visitor guides, but I'm thinking based on what Carmen was asking for and what she's asked for in past years, and we're probably looking at close to 10,000 to print and distribute, which have to be shipped to visitor centers, or unless somebody wants to volunteer to drop them around. But these have to be distributed. They have to be available on request. If somebody asks for one to be sent to them via mail, the stuff still happens. I mean, people still use the Route 66 Easy Guide is still hugely popular. There are apps that people love to have a book that they can turn to and read and mark in. It's still an essential part of the bigger picture.
So what are y'all asking to do? Vote on a number, or I feel like y'all guys are just, nothing's going in the way of a direction, and we gotta be in a direction, so.
Well, we need to decide for sure what we want to do, and then we need at least some general idea of how much we want to allocate so that we know we're saying 40,000.
Chamber of Commerce said they needed 6,500 for the small batches what I wrote here of guides.
Yes.
Okay. So then that's the number. 10,000 isn't the number. 6,500 is.
Well, 6,500 would be reprint the existing visitor guide, a small batch. We don't want the existing visitor guide. This would be printing something possibly this size, not as thick, but it would be something new, and it depends on the stock we use. I mean, there's variables to it. So we don't have a number, Connie, yes.
I pulled up who we use for Fired Up and that kind of stuff. How many are you looking at? Do we know?
That information hadn't been.
It's probably a good Carmen question, but she kind of, we don't want to overdo it because we want to be able to update it if needed. So yeah, we don't want to just have cases and cases of them sitting in a closet and use. True, but we don't have enough. We don't want to.
So if you start, say you start at 2,500, 80-pound paper, left side binding, saddle stitched, heavyweight on the inside and out, full color, you're looking at about $1,000.
Oh,
That
okay.
does not
How many?
include, that's 2,500.
For 2,500 magazine, the size?
Yeah, that's only 8 pages though, so it,
Yeah.
you know,
So,
the cost is gonna go up, but
variables
that would
that
be
we
the
don't
very minimum, bare minimum, so I would say you don't wanna
so say
go
I
less
went
than.
5,000, that's $2,000, so you're in the,
And we have to be ready to budget more if needed, because we don't.
well, we're already through almost halfway through the year, so that could be on next year's budget. We're gonna give you enough to get
Starting
started.
enough for March,
And if,
into the summer, yes.
yeah, if you go up to 24 pages, it jumps to a little over $2,500 for 2,500, so there's,
The one we have right now has, I don't know how many pages, I don't have it on me, but it's.
I would say you don't wanna go less than the 6,000. And then that gives you room, you can get, you know, if you have leftover, then you can use it for
Yeah,
brochures
and
or
it'll still be used.
rat
It's not like
cards
we're
or
gonna-
something like that.
So
We we do need to talk to Carmen though, and get probably some.
I mean, this means we're supposed to vote on all this stuff.
We've never had.
We're just trying to get some idea right
Yeah.
now. We're just trying
Been
to get
ideas
this.
for
Like
3
Mark
months.
said, the immediate need was to know if we're going to try to secure any of the existing billboards. We need to have some idea leaving here, how we want to use the 40,000.
This is how I would like to spend the 40,000. 10,000 towards billboards, 10,000 towards Glen Rio pending, 10,000 as an open, and 10,000 towards a print ad.
What was the third one?
Open for if we need, need money towards anything.
So you wanna say
Oh, keep
10,000?
leave it
Just,
open.
just leave it open.
Okay, so the Glen Rio thing, we not done any research. I mean, we need to look into that.
Oh, yeah.
We want to do that right
But we
now.
could save that,
Just say.
budgeted.
Well,
Yes.
some of that's an immediate need, that's something we can look at the next fiscal year. So if we're talking about immediate needs, well, how's that immediate? But we don't know when the visitor center is gonna be open again.
Well, yeah.
You sent our governor, I mean, we don't know what's gonna happen. I mean,
Are these visitor guys immediate?
They will we will have a design in place and they will need to be made, yes, as quickly as possible, yes. But I'm saying something we don't know anything about, a display of the visitor center that's still closed, is that immediate? We don't
I mean, the
know.
visitor guys, you don't even know the price of it. It was,
We know we need them.
I'm gonna use the restroom right now.
Yeah, I'm about to,
Hold on.
about the bus too, so we're, we also need to figure out too so you have 50,000 for convention center renovations. So that's the problem, without knowing, a priority list and seeing what projects could cost and what would really truly make sense to do now while it's closed. Again, we don't know how soon that will be open. We don't know. Everything's unknown right now going into next year. We do know people will still be coming to town. People will still want to have a visitor guide. Advertising could still work. It would still draw people here. I want to make sure we're hitting the basics and not just going, just off on what, assuming that everything's going to clear up next year and it's all going to be perfect and big groups of hundreds can gather together. We have no guarantee.
So do we have a decision?
We do, but, well, first off, are there any billboards that we feel that just need to be secured? Okay, so let's set aside
$10,000. We're already paying 12. So $10,000 will pay for 2
that
billboards.
gives 2 more, which, we will have to be super strategic about what those are and where they are. If we're just going to do one. There's also the option of losing. If we don't renew one of the existing ones, then I guess we would ride out the contract and let it go after a year. So
I mean, but it's still budgeted, and that's still, well, it's still budgeted in the budget. So if we renew it, it's still in the, it's budgeted for it.
It's budgeted, yes. Okay. I believe just to be safe. Again, by the time we get around to printing, I don't like quit calling them brochures. They're not brochures. It's a visitor guide. It's by the time we are printing those, we'll again have a better idea of how the fiscal year is going. So for now, be safe, we put at least 7,500 aside for that, because no point drawing people here if we can't guide them through our city.
So point of clarification, we're not forced to allocate funds a day just for the sake of it.
But I just want to have some idea. Now, I'm not saying these are hard numbers, but I'm just saying we want to have some idea of what we want to spend on. So, but maybe we combine print advertising, online advertising, and the promotional materials, and say that's, I think 10,000 is going to be low. But we can say that for now until we have hard numbers, and that's where we won't really be in that place until the branding process is done, and we can really start looking at advertising. If I know to advertise a written magazine is very expensive, because that's why I don't do it for the motel. So we, that will take a certain amount of money if we want to do any kind of print ads, and we do. I believe we do. So I would say, propose, I guess, combining. So we can just say 40,000 and just say the things that we do want to cover. We can say billboards. We can say print ads, possibly online advertising, visitor guide printing, and convention center, and figure it out from there. And as the needs come up, then we draw from that.
Well, the thing about
budget and allocate it as it's needed until we have nothing left to allocate.
The thing about your print ads, I can see they're important. I mean, since it's a one-time deal, I feel like it should come from the cash. It's a one-time deal. We're not going to do this next year. So let's.
What is
the print ads? Your
print ads, okay.
visitor guides. I'm sorry, visitor guides. So it's take that out of the 47. I'm not like good with budgets. I'm only good with my personal budget. It's a lot smaller than this. But on your cash, you have 47,000 in cash. And yes, I know that needs to be there for a rainy day. But we're not going to spend this every year. This is a one-time deal. Unless maybe 2 or 3 years down the road we need to run out. So that should come out of cash. We'll have the 40,000 we can use on this current budget that we can still use the convention center and use the whatever. I mean, I can see that it's important to you to do the print ads, visitor guides. I'll give you that. It's important. We should do it.
Well, it's not important to me. It's important to the town. I mean, it's essential. It's not you have to work in tourism to see it. I don't know how else to explain, but if you're not interacting with tourists, with travelers, it's hard to explain. But if they're essential to have. It's not let's do it if we feel like it.
The only thing I'm worried about, and you said this before, the last ones are, you had a bunch when you bought the Motel Safari. There was a bunch at the,
Yeah.
at
They
the,
overprinted.
chamber. There was a bunch stashed everywhere. If you had a bunch, and everybody else had a bunch.
We want to make sure we don't do that again. So we want to print the right number, but print as we need. So we agree to, once we have everything in place, to actually begin printing them. We decide how many we need. But we'll know more by then too, if what restrictions have been lifted, how the coming calendar year looks. I'm already getting some feedback on international travel that's not terribly promising. So we'll know more by the time the design team is finished and we're ready to move forward with actual tangible items. So yeah, that's why it's hard to put any hard numbers to anything right now. So let's just agree that certain things, we will use the 40,000 to spend on whatever we just said, the four categories. And we look at the needs as they come up and we allocate. If we decided collectively to draw from some of the cash reserve, and we do that. But we just be mindful and informed about what we're doing. We just don't. Because it's unusual times. We just can't make a lot of hard, fast decisions, especially for months ahead, months from now. We just don't know what we're looking at. But there are things that we do know, and that's what I've been trying to get across, is that we do know we need certain things. We'll need them.
So what are the four things you decided on?
What?
What are the four things?
Convention center, we'll group print materials and advertising together. And
Billboards.
And Al said just to be open to opportunities that may pop up. Obviously they're just unpredictable things just happen, and we need to be kind of fluid and ready to act.
We're all agreed on that.
So I make a motion to do the billboards, the 10,000, so we can start saving those. There's 2 billboards that we're gonna get.
But we're not saying we have to set amounts. That's what we're saying. We don't have to set hard amounts right now. We don't have to say, we can, but we just say, it may be less, it may be more. We just work with 40,000 we have. We agree that these are the items that we're going to use that money for. Yeah. That's what Mark's saying, that we don't have to have a hard budget set. We just know 40,000 is used for marketing efforts in the convention center.
Okay.
And we just see, as we get more information, as we move forward with the Main Street team, we get more information about what things could cost. They may have connections that make printing cheaper. I don't know how Carmen did that. I mean, there's all kinds of factors here that we don't, aside from just all the coronavirus stuff, there's factors that we just don't know yet, cost and what's possible. So I think we keep it open for now. We just agree that we will do those things. And when Mark presents a priority list, some at least approximate cost for each project, and we'll look at those and see what's doable from our budget. And then if the executive wants to throw in, they can as well. Does that sound agreeable? Yes.
I mean, are we going to secure some of these billboards? I mean, we're not
securing billboards. We're going to leave it to chance.
For what?
We're going to leave it to chance.
Okay.
We're going to say we will, I think we're in agreement, we'll add another 2 at least, and we'll just have to see what's available. I could reach out and see if, honestly, I've not had time to really study through this. It's been a completely horrible month. Just haven't had time to focus on any one thing. So we can look more closely and decide if there's something that really jumps out, if we can get in touch with the appropriate company and see what we can do. But I think right now no one's saying there's one that just has to be held. So no, we won't. If anyone does, between now and the next meeting, if someone does see something, let me know, and we'll add it to the agenda for our regular meeting scheduled October 7th. So again, billboard, print materials and advertising, and convention center for sure. That would be how we use the available $40,000. Okay, agreed. I do have a motion. Motion from Al. Do I have a second?
Oh, okay, right. All right.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you all for your discussion and suggestions. So yes, let's next meeting is October 7th. Get any items to me as soon as you can, so we can kind of map out the meeting a little bit better than this one. So a motion to adjourn.
Yes.
So, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.